NRL Daily for your Wednesday. The Journos are in, and boys, the Tigers, they are tigering.
Boys, I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to let everybody know.
Yeah.
I'll give you the tip on who's starting in the halves for the Gold Coast Titans.
Well, I'm going to give you the latest on Zac Lomax. He's doing the rounds of rugby union, so intriguing.
All right, let's get into it. Welcoming everybody to the final episode of NRL Daily for 2025. There's been some dramas, though, for us, hasn't there, before we got started, because now the scheduled recording time was 12 p.m. in my eyes. But David, Riccio, and Brent Read, you guys didn't see it that way.
Well, you're still on previous daylight saving time.
I don't think
Clearly, you haven't need to change your watch over, Charlie.
I might have to read the message.
I found your text message very confusing, Charlie, if I'm being honest.
Well, let me read.
Dave was confused as well.
You
can read the text.
Now,
But the two of us were confused.
Now,
by it.
see, I would normally say, hey, I've obviously got it wrong because everyone else is confused by it.
Yeah.
But I'll read it for the listeners and they can tell me what you
Read it
think.
from you.
First of all, I'll be honest. I said, is 11:30 a.m. okay?
Yeah.
No one responded to me as well. But then about 5 minutes later, I said, sorry, guys, we have to go 12 p.m. if that's okay. The studio's booked until then.
Yeah, so I thought you meant we've got to go at 12 p.m.
Yeah,
Yes.
see,
And you booked the studio till then. That's what I assumed you meant.
I can see.
There's a concession.
I can see how that came about.
Yeah.
But then did you not think to go, hey, this is a confusing message. What do you mean? Like
No,
a follow-up?
Well, because it wasn't confusing.
No.
It was
In our
11:30.
eyes, Yeah.
Ah, God.
In our
Actually,
eyes,
this
we
has not
weren't
gone the way I
confused.
thought it was going to go.
This is,
has not gone the way I thought
been
it
a
was
What a
going
way to
year.
end the year.
Yeah. You guys have a lunch to get to, so we'll keep this nice and tight for everyone. But we have to start with the West Tigers. They are tigering, as they always do.
Yeah, absolute mess, Charlie, and shocking way to end what was a really promising year for them. I mean, they, for the first time, 4 years, they didn't win the spoon. They made significant strides. They got money for Campbelltown, money for Leichhardt. They played before big crowds, and there was a lot of blue sky around, a lot of optimism about this footy club, but that's all gone out the window in a matter of days because the Holman Barnes group, and it gets a bit tedious, they're the 90% owners of this football club. A couple of years ago, they stepped aside to an extent and allowed independent directors to come in and take control of the footy club. And now they've decided they want the footy club back, and the independent directors have been tossed out, including former New South Wales Premier and Chairman Barry O'Farrell. So for me, it's ridiculous. Why would you do this at the end of a season when things have looked on the up? They've just completely destroyed all the goodwill that this club picked up this year.
It was only last week, fellas, that we were talking about the future of Benji Marshall and how we discussed what was required for Benji to stick around. And I was content with the way they were heading, so I'd be happy to stick with him. But now this football club, and what's really interesting from our point of view as journos is that so often when we write a West Tigers story, West Tigers fans are the most vocal fan base in the NRL, and justifiably so, given the constant failure of their football club, and they're angry about it, they're upset about it, and so when we do have a crack at them, they blow up at us, point fingers, leave us alone, go pick on someone else. On this occasion, they're calling us for us to go harder on this current administration, on how they've just done exactly what Reedy has explained, on basically put a bomb under this place, once again, of which they'd worked so hard to get away from being the laughing stock of the NRL. They're now back there. Because when I talk to rival NRL clubs and coaches, they are all asking, they've done it again. They're all saying, how have the West Tigers got back here?
Well, if you're Jerome Luai, Dave, and he's got those clauses in his contract, well documented, those clauses that are in that Jerome Luai deal. If you're a Jerome Luai who spoke only 2 weeks ago, I spoke to him, he said the reason those clauses are in there because the Tigers don't have a great track record.
Yeah.
So if you're Jerome Luai now and you sit back and look at that, and the club's been trying to negotiate those clauses out of his deal, why would you do it?
Yeah.
Why would you take out those clauses? Why would you agree to that? And if I'm Jerome Luai, I'm reconsidering my future at that football club because this is everything I would imagine Jerome feared would happen. This club would put a bomb under itself, blow itself up, which is what they're doing. And you're right, Dave, the fans are furious over this, and they're not furious for once. They're not furious at you and I.
No.
They're furious at the Holman Barnes group, the owners, 90% owners of the football club, because under their leadership, right, when they had control of the board of this football club, they went backwards at a rate of knots. They handed over to in effect, Barry O'Farrell and Shane Richardson, they make strides under their leadership and they decide it's not good enough. And the most ridiculous thing about this is, one of their accusation is there wasn't enough transparency from the board about some of the decisions. They had 2 representatives on the board.
Yeah.
What were they doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What were they doing?
Oh,
were they not reporting back to the board about what was their
Nodding
board about
off.
what was happening?
Yeah.
That whole idea that there was no communication, no transparency, it's just an idiotic comment.
Yeah.
It makes no sense because they had 2 blokes, not blokes, they had 2 people on the board representing them who are involved in all the decisions. Jersey, ground, they're all unanimous decisions, which means those 2 people voted in favour of these calls.
Mm.
It's insane.
Just on Luai, I'm with you, and I've been pretty vocal on saying that Jerome's had a lot to say as far as being absolutely staunch with the West Tigers, yet hasn't put anything on the dotted line. And I've been declaring, come on, Jerome, just sign it and put this to bed. I'm with you. Now, you're saying Jerome.
Jerome's the other one.
Right. Jerome. Now, Jerome's manager, he would be doing a disservice to Jerome if those clauses are removed from the contract, because he needs protection. Protection from this football club that can't get out of its own way. This is the footy club that got rid of Ivan Cleary. Now, we've all seen what Ivan Cleary's an ordinary coach, is he? No, he's not. But he.
Well, I think Ivan wanted to get out of it, Dave.
Well, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
So they couldn't prove to Ivan that we're good enough for you.
Yeah.
And he upped and left. I still remember Cameron Ciraldo touring the West Tigers.
That's right, yeah.
It lasted 8.5 minutes of him walking through the club's gym before it was leaked that he was currently touring the club gym. There was just no there's no trust within that football club at that time. We're talking about some quality coaches there, and it's back again. And my big fear, to Rudy's point, is that Shane Richardson had done a great job to calm the farm. Some really astute recruits. Not every single one of them's been right, but there have been some good ones, and they've calmed the farm. They've calmed the waters to be on this upward trajectory. Richo's now the next one on the chopping block.
I'm not sure what power the NRL's got, right? But they're looking into this, and I think the NRL should take – I'm not sure whether they can take back the licence, but they should take control of this football club and say, you are not doing this.
Yeah.
Because it's not in the interest of that footy club, it's not in the interest of the fans, and it's definitely not in the interest of the game, the best interest of this game, to have Holman Barnes Group back in control of that footy club. I mean, there was an independent review. This all stemmed from an independent review that looked at the running of that football club, and the independent review arrived at the decision that there needed to be an independent board. Right? So this is only, a year ago, 2 years ago now? How you can make a decision after, as I said, the promising signs, the steps forward that have happened this year, how you can arrive at the decision the Holman Barnes Group have arrived at is unfathomable. And the NRL is rightly looking into it, and they should seriously consider taking control of this football club.
Well, the reason they should do that is because it is what everyone should see the West Tigers as, and that is the sleeping giant of the NRL.
It's so sad, man.
And if they get it right, the game of rugby league and everyone involved in the game will be better for it, because they're a huge, not only a huge supporter base, they're a huge rugby league nursery.
Yeah.
Right? The Macarthur region is booming as far as junior rugby league is concerned. And for everything you just said about the NRL, it is absolutely beholden on them to make sure it works. Because of what it seriously could be if they got it right.
One of my favourite shots all year was Leichhardt Oval, and I can't remember who scored the try. It might have been Samuel Afanya.
Don't start.
And it was just electric. The whole crowd was into it, just fans everywhere.
Adam Dewey field goal.
They really are a sleeping giant. They win 2 games in a row, and the fans go mental for it. It's such a shame. But who actually are the Holman Barnes Group? Like, for me, as a, I'm not a West Tigers fan, so I'm not that close to a club, but I spoke to a fan on the way in, and they basically explained to me it's just these bunch of old dinosaurs who are very much Western Suburbs Magpies affiliated, and they just want the power for themselves.
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, there has been that suggestion that this club, one of the motivations behind what has happened is because the Holman Barnes Group want this club to be the Western Suburbs Magpies again, because they are basically aligned with Western Suburbs, with the Magpies, right? So
I
you've
don't
got
see that
Balmain owns 10%, they own 90% of that merger. They've got all the power, and that's one of the suggestions. They want to be the Western Suburbs Magpies again. That can't happen.
No.
That cannot happen. I don't think it can happen under the
NRL
license. So it can't in the short term anyway. And I mean, you mentioned Leichhardt, Charlie, and look, we all know it's not my favourite place on earth, right? I'm not a fan
What
of
do you
Leichhardt.
call it? A pig with lipstick or something like that?
It's like putting lipstick on a pig, spending 50 million on Leichhardt. But I can appreciate, as people call it, the eighth wonder of the world when the ground's packed and the hills, heaving. That it's one of the great. I'm not going to say great. It's for rugby league fans, and particularly fans of the West Tigers, they love it. Can you imagine if we went to the Western Suburbs Magpies again? They ain't playing at Leichhardt.
No.
And if they do, no one will show up.
No.
So that would be lost, right? The connection to Balmain would be lost.
Yep.
The Leichhardt Oval would be lost. And as much as I despise Leichhardt, I can see why that would be a loss for rugby league. So I hope, look, they can't do it in the short term. They're not allowed. At some point in the long term, maybe there will be. I think the clause runs out in maybe 2030 or something.
Yeah,
like
I don't think it'll happen.
So that would be sad for the game. But that's what people are saying. This is the end game for Holman Barnes Group, to turn it back into the Western Suburbs Magpies.
The next part of the whole debate is the future of Shane Richardson, and I think that's absolutely critical, because for listeners out there that aren't aware, Riccio has a clause tied to the now axed chairman, Barry O'Farrell, of which stated if Barry was ever removed, he would receive 2 years severance pay. Now, Riccio can walk tomorrow with 2 years' pay.
Wow.
Well, I think it's more to do with the independent, with the governance structure rather than specifically Barry, Dave. I think it's more to do with the independent. My understanding, it's more to do with the independent. If the governance structure changes,
Which
he's got
Barry's removal.
basically the capacity to leave and leave with a pretty hefty sum. So, Riccio's obviously in a position of power. But I think the conflicting thing for Riccio is he's brought in people to work at the West Tigers who are aligned with him, people who are close to him. And while yes, he was tight with Barry, he's also tight with people who are now within the organisation. So it's a really difficult time for Riccio, because that Holman Barnes Group have come out and publicly said they support Riccio and Benji. Privately,
do you believe that?
Well, privately, other people are saying that that's not the case. So I can't imagine Riccio will be there next week. I think he's taken some time to think about what he does, but I'd be surprised if Riccio's still at the club
next week.
Well, I think I think there's that decision's got to be made pretty soon.
Yeah, you can't just. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, he's such an impressive guy, Richard. Though, as much as whether you like him or not,
he's polarizing. He's
polarizing, of course.
Yeah.
But I had a bit to do with him at the buy round, and super impressive guy, extremely knowledgeable of the game. Probably as knowledgeable from an executive standpoint as anyone is in terms of rugby league. Premiership win with Panthers in 2003. Premiership win at South in 2014.
Yep.
Like, what are the Tigers doing if they lose him? Given what's actually happened, it seems to be going so well. How they end up getting themselves back in the headlines is crazy.
Well, Dave said it. I mean, he's Look, Riccio's polarising, right? But he makes stuff happen. Stuff happens with Riccio.
Through his experience.
Look at the stadium. Look at the Campbelltown Stadium. He basically it was a game of brinkmanship with the council and the government. Riccio ended up getting, 100 million out of him or something to fix Campbelltown Stadium. I mean, they've made a profit this year. First time in ages they've made a profit. So they've made huge strides, and it's going to be a shame if he leaves, but I feel like it's heading down that path.
Quick question. Is it true that it is about the jersey and the fact that it looked too much like a Tigers jersey than a Magpies jersey? Is that actually true?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. It's
Right.
not the sole reason, but it's part of it, yes.
Such a minor thing. Like, even you
It's
guys
ridiculous.
talking about boards voting on jerseys, I didn't even realise boards voted on jerseys. Surely there's someone's job who just looks after the gear.
You'd be surprised how much influence boards want to have on the running of an NRL club.
Particularly at a board like this, which has got it's representing two clubs, right?
Yeah.
Balmain and West. So, it's
sad.
It's just the whole thing's just farcical, really.
Crazy. Zac Lomax linked to the Wallabies now, and he's toured the Western Force facilities, Dave.
He's probably touring them right now.
Yeah, probably. Look, this one, this one's on Zac, isn't it? Really, it's in our eyes, it's backfired on him. as far as this R360 deal going to ground. But I wonder if in Zac's head he's okay with it. And I say that because all my information is that Zac was growing increasingly tired with rugby league and wanted a change. So I would call it a move that's backfired, but I don't think he would.
Well, if he ends up getting a contract with Western Force, getting a contract with Rugby Australia and playing at a World Cup, that's probably not a bad consolation prize. You don't get your $1 million US from R360 being represented the Wallabies at a World Cup. That's a long way off for him because I don't think the outside backs is a position where the Wallabies, as I understand it, are really struggling. I think that's more one of their areas of strength. So he's got a long way to go to get there. But if he's purely going to the Western Force because he's got nothing else, which it appears as though he hasn't, that's a massive. You're giving up a lot of money.
Yeah,
like the Western Force aren't going to pay him a fortune.
No way.
He's got to rely on Rugby Australia chipping in some cash to make up what he's lost from rugby league. And on the surface, it looks like a disaster for him because he was earning $600-700 a power. His next deal, he probably would have got more than that if he wanted it. And he may end up having to take $200,000 at the Western Force. That's a pretty fair snip.
Drop.
That's less. That's way less than what.
Well,
that's half of what
I was
Charlie's
actually
on.
gonna say-
I wish,
thing.
boys. I wish. I wish. He'd go well in rugby though, Lomax,
reckon?
wouldn't he? Yeah, he's a big body. He's good in the high ball. He can goal kick.
Has he ever played?
Well, but he's got the physique for it, doesn't he? Like he's a very athletic player. Like if you think about the Wallabies, if they built their outside backs with Mark Nwangani-Tawaze, Joseph Suaalii, and Zac Lomax, it's going to get the eyeballs of a lot of NRL fans.
He might box again. He always wanted to have a fight.
So is Nelson now fighting? Is that confirmed that he's going to be doing that?
It's not confirmed, but certainly that's the Nelson. As we record, Nelson has taken to social media to declare that he's announcing something
Right.
on Thursday afternoon.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So by the time you're listening, you may already know that.
Yes.
Pappenhausen, no news there on that front, though, is
No
there?
news. But if I'm Perth, the Perth Bears, I'm picking up the phone to Paps because the suggestion was Paps wanted some time off.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I look on social media, he's working on his golf swing. It looks like he's going right too, Paps. So I'd be potentially if I'm the Bears, I'd wait. I'd be making a call to Paps now and saying, mate, take the year off and we'll take it at the end of the year.
Yeah.
For that first season in 27 because he's exactly what they need.
Yep.
He's a good human, great player, and he'd be a leader for them. So and he's got some profile. I think he'd be a great signing for the Perth Bears.
Yeah, don't disagree, and it actually works in Paps' favour with the year off because that's what he's wanted. And you talk to the Melbourne Storm and people close to Ryan Pappenhausen, they've all discussed that he had no plans whatsoever. No plan, no locked in contract elsewhere. Just needed time away from the game. There was an assertion that it was head knock related, that he wanted to rest and recover and take some time away. But the Perth Bears makes absolute sense. 100% it does.
He had that HIA against the Broncos. I think that was round 27. I think that happened in that game there.
Yep.
Before we get to a break, Coby Black is going to the Raiders immediately as well. The Broncos have released him. Is that good for the Raiders, boys?
I think he's a great signing. I mean, if he lives up to his potential and the reputation he's had as a young bloke coming through, he'll push to play first grade as soon as next year because obviously Ethan Sanders will get first shot at the number 7 jersey now that Jamal Fogarty's gone. But Black's had big raps on him for a long time now, and he's going to give Ethan Sanders something to think about.
Well, Ricky Stewart loves competition for spots in his roster. And if you go through his roster, across the board, he has a number of players that can play a number of positions to create competition within the team. And this is certainly what it does as far as Black's arrival to the Green Machine to go very much in a showdown with Ethan Sanders. I think Ethan has the jump on him because he's there and he's been in the system and understands the system. And he'll start round 1, but there's no denying that Coby's a talent and that it'll create pressure.
And there's every chance Dave Ethan Strange potentially plays Origin next year.
Yep.
Now you got Coby Black there as well for that Origin period. So I think he's going to be a great signing for them. I mean, as I said, if he reaches his potential and lives up to the raps, they've got a long-term first grader on their hands.
Now, boys, biggest issues in the game for 2026. We did a ton of them last week, so go get last week's podcast in case you missed it. But Latrell Mitchell, he goes to fullback or the centres?
Or 6.
Or 5'8".
Dave's pushing for him to play 6.
Yeah, I'd like to see Latrell play 5'8". I
Okay.
love the big body up in the front line, and the combination with Cody Walker, and ultimately the balance of the spine for South Sydney. I've got Jai Gray at fullback. How you just can't deny the impact on the game that Jai Gray has when he's on the field, and for him to be sitting on the bench as a 14 for the majority of the match when he has played off the bench. I don't think that works at all. I think he's a talent, and the mere fact that they've extended him to a long-term deal, you have invested in this player now. You haven't invested in him to play on the bench. You've invested in him because you see a future in him, and I believe that's at fullback. So therefore, where does Latrell play? And Latrell can play anywhere. He can play in the centres, but it's at 6 for me with the balance of playing outside Cody Walker. We know he's got a great kicking game. He's the big defensive body in the front line. And what a threat with the ball he would be at 6, and that's ultimately I want Latrell with the ball in his hand as much as possible, and that happens playing in the halves.
I think that allows you to play Whiten and Campbell Graham in the centres too,
Yes.
Dave. Which, if Latrell's in the centres, you've got to probably push Campbell Graham onto the wing. And I think Campbell Graham's a centre. So if you look at that back line, potentially you've got Gray, Johnston, Graham, Whiten, I don't know who the other winger is, then Mitchell and Walker. It's a pretty good back line. Even if you flip Jai Gray and Latrell Mitchell, because Jai Gray did play in the halves at schoolboy level. So he's played a bit of 6 himself. So that's a pretty good back line.
Look, ultimately,
That's not their issue, their back line.
Ultimately, South fans want to see Latrell on the field longer than what he
Yeah.
has been. That's the catch.
That's
He
more
has to be
important, isn't
fit, has to be healthy, and just stay on the field.
If you're reading the tea leaves, Jai Gray probably wouldn't have re-signed as well unless he was given some sort of indication
Absolutely, mate.
that he'd be a fullback.
I checked
So-
that with Wayne, and Wayne said he was given no positional guarantees.
But is that just Wayne saying
Could
that?
be just Wayne speak.
Because I think if you read the tea leaves, if I was a
That sounds
betting
like
man,
If you're a betting man,
Jai Gray has the one at
and
the
you
Bunnies.
do like a punt.
I do love a punt
Are you a
on
good punter,
Ladbrokes.
though?
I love a punt on Ladbrokes.
Of course you do.
AJ Brimson.
Yeah.
Where does he slot in, boys? Because the Titans, they basically have 3 specialist fullbacks, you could argue. Jaden Campbell, AJ Brimson, and Keanu Kinney.
Yeah. Look, all my suggestions are that AJ Brimson and Jaden Campbell will be the starting halves of the Gold Coast Titans,
Wow.
with Keanu Kinney at fullback. Now, this combination of Campbell and Brimson is a combination that Josh Hannay is super keen to see flourish due to the fact that we haven't seen it flourish. They haven't had combination time together as much. Now, very much in the same vein, and when I talk about Brimson and Campbell, both former fullbacks. Now, if you go through the leading try assists of 2025, you will find that the majority of the top 10 leading try assists are either current or former fullbacks in their career. These 2 players have played fullback, so that means that they know how to attack and provide an element of X factor that the Titans desperately need. I point to my example as far as former fullbacks, Munster and Hughes, both former fullbacks. I also state Matt Moylan and Nico Hines, who Josh Hannay worked very closely with when Moylan and Hines had their best season together. I think it was the Dally M year when Matt Moylan was playing in the halves with him, both former fullbacks. So I'm firm on this one. It'll be Campbell and Brimson in the starting halves.
I don't think it works, Dave.
Of course you don't.
I've seen nothing. Nothing.
You haven't seen enough.
I haven't seen anything to suggest that will work.
You haven't seen
Who takes control of the team? Who's
Jaden Campbell.
leading the team around the park? Really?
He finished the season very well.
He was playing 6, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he's going.
Yeah, and he had Foz beside him. I mean, I think you've got to play Ilias at halfback, Campbell at 6, and you know what? I'd be cutting AJ loose, and I'd be freeing up some salary cap space, and I'd be putting him on letting him go to open market. Go to Perth, AJ. I don't think it works, Dave. It worries me.
Yeah.
Josh obviously had success at Cronulla with, as you said, Nico and
You're old school, mate. You want the organising half. That's
I do,
what you
yeah.
want.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I want one, yeah.
Very
I
much.
don't see one there.
Very similar for the reason that
Yeah.
Toby Sexton was let go by the Bulldogs. He was no run threat whatsoever.
Yeah, well, you
Right?
got 2, right? You got lots
So,
of
which
runs
is
for
why
it
they
there.
made the tough call to go Lachlan Galvin. This is the way the game's going now, Reed. You have to get up to with today's era of rugby
Don't
league.
like it, mate. We saw how that went for the Dogs.
Hey?
Worked well for the Dogs.
Very
Anyway,
small.
I don't think.
sample
I
size.
don't know. I don't think it works, mate. I think that, and if it does, it's going to take time. So I'm not optimistic about the Gold Coast next year. If that's what they're going to go with, I've no optimism around them next year. Worries me.
Another Queensland team, the Dolphins. Now, I think I was speaking to Jimmy Graham the other day, and he has them contending for a title
Oof.
in 2026.
Yeah.
Is he correct?
I reckon if they can stay fit, they'll be there and thereabouts. I think they've got all their forward packs out. Look, if Flegler comes back, Gilbert comes back, it's a great forward pack.
Yeah.
What are you hearing on Flegler?
Well, he started his training. Looks as though he was, believe he was. I don't know if he was quoted the other day. I read that someone said he'd be ready for round one.
Okay.
And he is a huge in for them. If he's anywhere near the player he was, huge in for them.
What they achieved through their injury toll was
Mate, it's
extraordinary.
crazy.
And I don't think Jimmy's too far off the mark. Look,
No.
premierships, probably not yet for me with Izzy Katoa. I get it, super talent. I was slightly disappointed in his Pacific Championships series, Katoa, but that's just part of his development experience.
They got some weapons, Dave.
They will be
man.
finals bound,
Yeah.
that's for sure, if they stay healthy.
Yeah. Cobbo comes in.
Yep.
Yeah.
You get, obviously, Gilbert's back from injury as well.
Yeah.
Be huge for them. I think they can go all the way for sure.
Yeah.
The South Sydney Rabbitohs, just back to them briefly. Someone messaged in, how do they get the best out of David Fifita?
I reckon Cody Walker's the key here for me. I think if Cody can stay fit and work up a combination with Dave, I reckon Dave can be a real threat for them. Because I think at the Gold Coast, when Foz was fit and firing and available, that's when Dave sort of played his best footy. I think particularly early doors when Kieran first got there. So I think that's the key for South. They need Cody Walker fit and firing up Dave. Because if Dave's not having a go, Cody will give it to him.
I think it's confidence. I think it's belief. I think it's his health and his fitness. So confidence comes from those players around him, Wayne Bennett, in absolutely making certain that he believes that he is one of the elite back rowers. Belief sits in the same category, and then it's his body. He has to be super fit, and ready to have one of those seasons that we all know he's got.
Yeah. He's 20. I think Dave's only 25.
Hmm.
It's amazing. I'm told he's a great trainer. So it's about if Dave can stay fit and work on that and get that combination going with Cody, they can cause some damage. Or Latrell if Latrell's at 6.
Yeah. Well, when South were humming, it was their left edge a few years ago that just was blowing teams apart.
Yep.
Imagine this for a left edge.
Yep.
Cody Walker,
Yep.
Dave Fifita, Latrell Mitchell if he's in the centres, and Alex Johnston.
Yeah,
Like, that is deadly.
deadly.
Crazy.
All right, up next, the Blues are ditching the Blue Mountains. Is that the right move? And the listener who messaged in, is Laurie Daly the most under pressure person heading into 2026, sorry?
The Blues ditching the Blue Mountains. Yep, I don't mind that at all because
Doesn't matter.
No,
Doesn't matter,
mate. That is not the question, right?
It's already over.
Right? It makes it very difficult. I've never understood trying to prepare for the most important game of the year in 6 degrees. What's
Didn't
doing?
they spend a lot of money up there getting it right for the Blue? Haven't they spent money on building
No,
a field and
No,
gym
no,
and
no.
all
It
sorts of
was
stuff?
all out of the college up there, Blue Mountains
okay.
Grammar. I understand, but that's the right move. And it's now about where they set up next. Is Laurie Daly the most under pressure person heading to 25? He's one of.
He's on the podium.
He's one of.
Yeah. I don't think it matters where they train or set up,
here we
Charlie.
go,
It
here
doesn't
we go.
matter because, as I've said over and over again on this show, you don't get it. You'll never get it. It's not about where you train or where you prepare.
Thanks,
That's
Charlie.
not what Origin's about,
We did not have to
Charlie.
read
No,
this
we
question.
didn't have
That's not what it's about, mate.
Is Billy signed beyond this year?
Yeah, I think
It
he
doesn't
extended,
matter.
didn't he? I think
What
Billy
does it
extended.
matter? What's the point of
I
that?
think Billy
We don't
extended. I
have
think Billy
contracts in
extended.
Queensland. We have handshakes. Our word is our bond.
Billy will be there for as long as we need him, Charlie, because
Oh,
that's what
God.
Queenslanders do.
You're a punish already. It's so sad. The Knights, last one. How do the Knights get the best out of Dylan Brown?
Well, I think they were playing at 6. I think that became pretty obvious through the Pac Championships. Take some pressure off him. Let him run the
series he
footy.
had.
That's the way you get the best out
Yeah.
of Dylan Brown.
I mean, the Pac Champs really should be the springboard for Dylan Brown's 2026 season, and it should have every Knights fan
Salivating.
salivating. The key for me is who plays with him, and how they get Fletcher Sharp or Sandon Smith
Who would you play there?
and
Who do you reckon, Dave?
or Kalen Ponga at fullback, obviously.
Who do you
I'm Fletcher Sharp all in. I think he's an outstanding talent. But Sandon has gone to the Knights to play in the starting halves.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a battle.
Mm.
Great work as always, boys. It's been a great season by both of you. Great year.
Good
Thanks to
fun.
everyone who's listened in as well, because it's been fantastic to see people listening in, sending in messages. We'll be back probably around mid-January. If a big story breaks, we'll get a crew together. We'll get a show on. Don't worry about that. But we'll be back around mid-January, previewing all the footy. But David Riccio, fantastic job as always.
Merry Christmas, boys.
Merry Christmas, Brent Read.
Thanks, Charlie.
Good job.
Thanks,
well done,
Dave.
mate.
Well done, everyone.
Well done.